Lawrence Douglas Wilder's rise to the top certainly didn't come easy, without patience, without service, without endurance. It took all of that and more. If there is such a thing as playing the political system, Doug Wilder played it well.
Lieutenant Governor Doug Wilder, proven experience, sharing our values.
But his product wasn't based on slick TV ads. Before he ever sat in any Senate chamber, this Richmond native, born in poverty, had already acquired a sound education, a Doctor of Laws degree, a Bronze Star for heroism in the Korean War. He was ready for the fight.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear. I do solemnly swear.
Elected to the Virginia Senate in 1970, there, for the next 16 years, he served Virginia's 9th Senatorial District, writing the laws, working on committees, gaining the trust of the people. They liked him. And in 1986, he joined the ticket of Governor Gerald Balaus to become, at that time, the nation's highest-ranking black elected official. Doug Wilder was Virginia's second in command, the lieutenant governor. Now, 3 years since that day, 20 since the onset of his political career, this 58-year-old veteran politician has not only broken the color barrier, but has excelled far beyond it.
You can be and do anything you want to do right here in Virginia.
Lawrence Douglas Wilder has made history. He's the governor of the Commonwealth. Arthur Fennell, WAVY News 10.
More than 50 years after her computations behind the scenes helped man into space, retired mathematician Katherine Johnson got her first look at a NASA building that bears her name.
She is the bar that I'm trying to scale. In comparison, space is easier because she did everything I'm trying to reach for, but she did it here in gravity.
Thank goodness for the movie and the book that actually came out and people got to understand what this woman meant to our country. I mean, she really broke down the barriers.
Margot Lee Shetterly, who wrote the book Hidden Figures about Johnson and the women who worked with her, said the Trailblazers laid the foundation for the new facility.
We are living in a present that they willed into existence with their pencils, their slide rules, their mechanical calculating machines, and of course, their brilliant minds.
The $23 million, 37,000 square foot computational research facility will be used for studying challenges like turbulence and the entry into another atmosphere like Mars. To those who will carry on her work in the new building, Johnson had this advice.
Do your best, but like it. Like what you're doing, then you will do your best.
A concert for a small audience. In her living room, she claims she's rusty but hasn't lost her touch.
I play in the handbells now and I sing in the choir.
Just one passion, the other is science.
So this is all about what we got out of the wind tunnel. And
she spent 40 years as a NASA scientist, a former director at Langley Research Center, about 25 years working in sonic boom, playing a major role in the space race of the 60s and 70s. Dr. Christine Darden is a hidden figure, but hardly hidden.
She has made some notable improvements in the aircraft wing design.
Just one of many articles written about her, notebooks filled with them.
These are equivalent area distributions.
Along with her, 50 publications.
That was a journal paper. This is the NASA paper.
This book, Hidden Figures by Margot Lee Shetterly, recounts the advances Darden made at NASA, then an award-winning movie by the same name. The story of African-American women serving as the brains behind one of the greatest operations in history, the launch of astronaut John Glenn into orbit. Dr. Darden entered NASA later than those featured in the film, but she looks up to the women like Katherine Johnson, mentors. After all, Darden was 25 when she got the job. That was 1967. An adjustment, she says.
This is my first time being around whites. My whole background was in segregated schooling and everything.
She started as a human computer. 5 years later, she went to her boss and asked for a promotion.
So he said, nobody ever asked that question before. I said, well, I'm asking it now.
She was promoted to aerospace engineer. In 1989, Christine developed the Sonic Boom Research Program at NASA, aiming to minimize the explosion sound when an object travels through the air faster than the speed of sound. Darden is the first African-American woman at NASA Langley's Research Center to be promoted into the Senior Executive Service. That's top rank. Now retired, she spends her time with the one she loves the most,
This is my family. That's my husband.
Her 5 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren keep her busy, and so do her presentations, traveling across the country, hitting high notes with students and others in the STEM field. But home is Hampton for this hidden figure, a name that's ironic because she's anything but hiding in the background. Laura Queso, 10 on your side.
I still play golf. I'm still trying to get dates.
And at 92 years young, Dr. Harry Quinton is laughing his way through life. By his smiles and jokes, you never know all the struggles he's been through.
So life wasn't easy. If I could just get in and show what I could do, that I could survive.
That attitude started at 16 when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. Quinton, still in high school in Maryland, enlisted in the Army Reserves and trained as an aviation mechanic. He ended up at Daniel Field in Augusta, Georgia. There, he saw firsthand how blacks in the military were treated differently.
They had German POWs who were just laying around, drinking soda, smoking cigarettes, having a good time. And I said, wow, they're treating German prisoners better than they are us.
Quinton eventually ended up with the famous Tuskegee Airmen, the group of African-American pilots, when he was sent to California.
We knew what we were doing was something we hadn't been given an opportunity to do before. And we also knew that everybody thought we couldn't do it.
Although he never went abroad to fight, he served his country, following the war overseas and witnessing segregation at home. He says he's always asked why blacks joined the war.
Say we as a people had decided we weren't going to participate, it would have set us back another 100 years.
After leaving the service, Quinton got married, went to school for accounting, but still found it hard to get a job.
Soon as they saw who I was, the whole attitude changed.
Quinton ended up working for businesses like Pan American Airlines and eventually spent 23 years as an IRS auditor for the Department of Treasury.
The Galveston Award from the Treasury Department for my years of service.
That hangs on the wall with all the other awards and pictures, including those of his fellow airmen.
This is when I met the president.
Quinton now spends his time speaking about his experiences.
I enjoy it, and it's rewarding. I mean, I get all these accolades and attention. It feels good.
And we feel good knowing he's sharing his story with others.
I believe that if you prepare yourself, and when the opportunity comes, you have to be ready.
Kara Dixon, 10 on your side.
This is Suffolk's Peanut Park in 1963.
Suffolk had never seen a day like that day.
People came from near and far for this voter registration rally and fundraiser for an upcoming march, and to catch a glimpse of a king, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to be exact.
Can you imagine a man with such popularity and global notoriety coming to town?
They had heard of the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955 and knew of his peaceful, nonviolent approach to protest in Birmingham 8 years later, and he had heard about Suffolk.
Suffolk was a good place to come with persons who had some courage and stood for what this country was all about.
The woman pictured here in white is Miss Exie Mae Chambliss.
Our mother was on the host committee.
I had the opportunity to get a history lesson from her children in what is Peanut Park today.
Her assignment was to greet Dr. King at the airport and to remain with him the entire time.
Long before integration in the Booker T. Washington Elementary that sits here now as a result.
No gymnasium, no cafeteria. The library was one room, so we saw how handicapped things were.
Miss Chambliss led a group of parents displeased with inequity in the Suffolk school system in a relentless fight.
School board conceded and voted to build a new school called Booker T. high school.
Edna was in the first graduating class.
And soon after civil rights activist Moses Riddick graduated from what we now know as Hampton University, he joined with 11 other men in creating the Independent Voters League to encourage African Americans to get involved in the process of effecting change.
That group included their father, Clifford B. Chambliss Sr.
That energy, coupled with the unions and the ministerial bodies, snowballed the movement to make a change in Suffolk.
These siblings were born to difference makers.
Suffolk was a powerhouse for civic activity.
But it wasn't until Clifford Jr.'s children recently began researching their family history that they found the photos to match what they had long heard.
January the 1st, 2018. Dear Edna, the photos were a part of one of my most surprising Christmas gifts from the children.
Of course, an elated brother had to share his big surprise.
I was blown away. Love, brother.
A family that's put their stamp on history.
We've been around and we've been fighting for a long time.
Now enriched by a tangible reminder to fight on.
Well, hello, sir.
Robert C. Scott, better known as Bobby, was born April 30th, 1947 to Dr. C. Waldo and May Scott in Washington, D.C. A short time later, Newport News became his family's home, a home full of love with education a big focus.
My father was on the school board, my mother was a school teacher, and there was no question that all of the children were going to go to college.
In 1954, when the Supreme Court ruled segregation in schools unconstitutional through Brown versus Board of Education, Bobby's parents knew they had an important decision to make as Virginia responded with mass resistance.
Rather than integrate the schools, they closed the schools. And Newport News was expected to close, and so it ended up in high school in Massachusetts.
Bobby Scott finished high school, graduated from Harvard and Boston College Law School, all while serving in the Massachusetts Army National Guard. In 1973, he came back to Newport News to work as a lawyer. He never let the subject of race deter him from reaching his goals of helping people.
It just seemed to me that everything you wanted to get done had to be done eventually by people in elected office. And rather than ask people to do things for me, I just decided to run myself.
In 1977, Bobby Scott ran for the Virginia House of Delegates and won. Scott served as a delegate for 5 years and then in the Virginia Senate for 10. In 1994, State Senator Bobby Scott became Congressman Bobby Scott, the first African American elected to Congress from the Commonwealth of Virginia since Reconstruction. Scott remains only the second African American elected to Congress in Virginia's history. A portrait of the first, John Mercer Langston, hangs on his wall. While he knows the place he holds in history, Scott says for him, it will never be about race.
My job is to be a good legislator, and that means making life better for everybody.
It is truly amazing what happened because of 17 young students.
Dr. Patricia Turner was one of those students responsible for changing Norfolk forever.
I remember as if it was yesterday.
Now at 74 years old, Dr. Turner spends her time telling the story of sacrifice and hard work to students throughout Hampton Roads.
When I went to middle school, it didn't look like this.
Ahead of her 8th grade year in 1958, she went through a tedious selection process. Historian Dr. Charles Ford explains the school entrance interviews weren't always fair.
If you look at the notes from the officials that interviewed the students, the notes are just obviously blatantly racist.
Later that same year, the governor J. Lindsay Almond shut down 6 white schools in Norfolk to keep African American students out as a part of the massive resistance movement.
To this day, I still don't understand why Virginia would close their schools, and Norfolk particularly putting out 10,000 white students.
But on February 2nd, 1959, the district reopened the schools after students petitioned. Then began Turner's lonely school experience.
That year, I was in the 8th grade to middle school. I was knocked down the steps. I was spit in the face. My papers were taken from me and torn apart. But yet, I didn't miss any day. I kept going.
She says it was all worth it to make the change for future generations.
We had to make sure that our grades were on track because, you see, we were carrying you. We were carrying each and every one of you.
Block after block, the Church Street of today has few images that harken back to the glory days of what was the business and social scene for the black community in Norfolk after World War II.
Was booming. You had a hotel where people could stay, movie theaters. You didn't have to go off Church Street. You had grocery stores. You didn't have to go anywhere.
The Attucks Theater bookends the south end, while Graves Funeral Home bookends the north. This is the original Graves building, erected in 1953. Family members say a local bank told Tom Graves it would loan him $22,000 for construction, but
when it came time to consummate the loan, they reneged on it.
A North Carolina-based insurance company stepped in and funded the construction.
We were the first black funeral home ever designed and built from scratch up to bury the African American community.
It was a nice concept and building, but 6 other funeral homes were also on Church Street. Business was slow, so family members had to pitch in.
They supported us for 2 years, plus I was working and I contributed.
Then there was a sea change. Family members say in 1955, a boating disaster in the Chesapeake Bay changed the course of history for Graves Funeral Home. In the middle of the night, Tom Graves got the call to handle the remains of the blacks who died.
My father was a benefactor of every African American who died on that boat. And from that point forward, the business has never looked back.
By 1991, Tom Graves needed to expand, so once again, he turned to a local bank, and once again, the loan was denied. Tom Graves died on January 13, 2017. Former NFL player Tommy and his sons Thomas IV and Jason Graves now operate the business that is dealing with a disaster of another kind. In July 2020, they handled the remains of 10 people who died from the coronavirus. The January death toll could eclipse the summer's peak. Lorraine, a former professional ballet dancer, is Tom and Mildred's daughter.
It's quite scary. We're not out of the woods with this. Hopefully, with this new administration that's coming in, that we really will start to see some light at the end of the tunnel.
It's unfortunate that the country is dealing with this. But again, we have to deal with it. And we have to deal with it in a manner that we can still serve our families with professionalism.
Thomas IV has a message for Thomas V and his brother Aston.
And to know that he comes from, a long line of people that put themselves on the line to pave the way for him to have something.
Regina Mobley, 10 on your side.
For nearly 200 years, Fort Monroe has solemnly stood ground here at the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. These stone walls have seen their fair share of stories dating back before the Civil War. But these shores have an even deeper foundation in American history.
We're the birthplace of African American history in English North America. And that's a good selling point. You'll probably never see that on the bumper sticker, but this is where it all began.
For Hampton native and resident Calvin Pearson, it's the beginning of a story he's worked decades to tell. A story of truth and pain, but one of remembrance that originated here more than 400 years ago.
When we talk about 1607, the first settlers, we talk about the first Africans, we talk about the first Christmas, the first Thanksgiving. This is a historic area, and I believe that history needs to be told truthfully.
Most Americans are taught about the first English settlement, which was founded in 1607 at Jamestown by colonists who left their lives behind in England to come to the New World to seek riches. A narrative of them overcoming trials and tribulations like disease, hunger, and the climate to become a successful colony that birthed the United States of America. But 13 years after that settlement is an event Pearson wants others to remember the landing of the first enslaved Africans in what will become our country.
One-time event in 1619 affected all of America. The free slave labor that built this colony. This was a struggling colony until the first Africans arrived here or landed here. The colonists were struggling because they did not know how to grow crops, did not know how to raise cattle. And here a ship comes in 1619 with enslaved Africans who were experts at farming, experts at herding. They were blacksmiths, they were agronomists, they were engineers, they were astronomers, they were into medicine, they were into music, they were into food. All the skills that a struggling colony needed to prosper.
I say I'm from Aberdeen Gardens in Hampton, Virginia. Never Hampton, Virginia first, always Aberdeen Gardens.
Aberdeen Gardens is one of a kind. It's listed on the National Register of Historic Places. 7 streets make up the community just off Aberdeen Road.
A unique place, a family-oriented place.
This unique 440-acre subdivision was a result of Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal settlement. In 1934, Hampton Institute secured $245,000 to build 158 single-family homes, gardens, school, and commercial center. The planning, design, and construction was all completed by African Americans.
We weren't afraid to do anything in here. We could walk the streets late at night knowing that everything was safe. Yeah. You know, and they took care of each other.
Margaret Wilson has a special connection. Her grandparents were one of the first families to move in. Wilson says each house was made with tender care and handcrafted bricks. The 3 to 5 room houses included a garage, great room, and bathroom. Doctors, teachers, day laborers, black people from all walks of life lived here. In her early 20s, Bernadine and Andre Van moved into this house.
The neighbors were very friendly, in and out the homes, and the children up and down the street, and you felt much safer.
Of course, there have been some changes throughout the years. The Vans added this sitting area with a bathroom.
This is where the old original bathroom was. We just closed that in.
The original great room is now a kitchen, and they added a living room and another bathroom and bedroom upstairs. Every inch is filled with memories of her 3 sons, grandchildren, and now great-grandchildren. Wilson and Van want to preserve the history of our country's first planned black community. One challenge is not having a covenant to maintain uniformity and character of the brick homes. Wilson also says there's some reluctancy from new residents or renters to get involved.
People live here and don't know the history of this neighborhood.
The Historical Foundation maintains a close relationship with the city, but members want to make sure this area never loses its heart and soul.
I just like that we would get more young people involved to learn the history so that this place is not forgotten.
It's so much history that it makes you proud.
Glattis Carter is best remembered as a freedom fighter.
I'm in the United States Army. I'm not drinking out of any colored water fountain.
Leslie Carter sharing this quote from her beloved grandmom from the book To Serve My Country, To Serve My Race. Glattis met her husband Oscar at Virginia State. The couple left college early in 1943 to volunteer to fight in World War II.
She did feel like it was her duty to go.
She served in 688 Central Postal Battalion, the unit made up of 850 black and brown women. These women worked hard to sort a massive amount of backlog mail. Their motto, no mail, low morale.
I recall her saying, had they not had that morale motivated, that we may not have won the war.
Her son, Oscar Carter Jr., later joining the military and fighting in Vietnam.
Inspiring, motivational, and, kind of pick you up, something you look forward to every day. So that had to meant a lot to the soldiers there.
After Glattis returned from the war, she became an educator.
She spent the second half of her life making sure that, there were efforts to have the women who served recognized.
And to continue to share her story, she helped found the National Association of Black Military Women. Retired Colonel Kathleen Harris recalls meeting her mentor.
But Mrs. Carter told me, she says, nobody knows about us. And I told her, you're right. And that's sad. Here I am, a senior major, and I know nothing about Black military women's history.
the two traveling all over the country advocating for Black military women until she passed in 2009.
Now, I promised her that I would keep it going.
And to continue her legacy, Harris calls on more Black women to become members.
We never had a Black military women's organization. Well, we were the first, and it was because of Mrs. Carter. And it was a simple mission: tell your story.